Caleb "Sweet Hands" Plant, once the proud holder of the IBF World Super Middleweight title and more recently the WBA interim champion, returned to the ring on Saturday night at the Michelob Ultra Arena in Las Vegas with hopes of revitalizing his career. Standing across from him was Jose Armando "Toro" Resendiz, a hungry and determined opponent who brought the kind of intensity that can quickly change the narrative of any fight. From the opening bell, it was clear this was not going to be an easy night for Plant. The atmosphere in the arena was electric, and both fighters stepped into the spotlight knowing a win would shape the trajectory of their careers moving forward. For Plant, this fight wasn't just about defending a belt, it was about restoring momentum after some recent stumbles. For Resendiz, it was about making a statement, proving he belonged on the big stage against a respected veteran of the sport. The sixth round became a turning point in the fight, marked by a clash of heads that disrupted the flow and added a layer of tension. These accidental headbutts are not uncommon in boxing, especially when both fighters are closing the distance and trying to assert control on the inside. While it didn't immediately stop the action, it clearly had an impact. Then, with less than a minute remaining in the round, Resendiz landed a solid right-hand flush on Plant's chin. The shot was clean and precise, and it visibly shook Plant. It was the kind of moment that lingers, not just physically but psychologically. That punch appeared to shift the energy, giving Resendiz a boost of confidence and sending a message to Plant that this wasn't going to be a tactical chess match. It was going to be a war. As the fight pushed into the eighth round, things started to get more physical and a bit more reckless. Resendiz, clearly pressing the action, was warned twice by referee Harvey Dock for leading with his head. This kind of aggressive, borderline legal tactic is something that often frustrates boxers like Plant, who rely more on technique and timing than brute force. Still, Resendiz continued to press forward, absorbing what Plant offered and throwing punches in bunches. He began hurting Plant with flurries, especially during the exchanges when the two were close. In response, Plant leaned heavily on clinching. He would tie up Resendiz again and again, trying to slow down the pace, reset the action, and maybe buy himself a little time to recover. It's a veteran move, but it also signals that the momentum was slipping away. The 9th and 10th rounds saw Resendiz double down on his body attack, throwing powerful punches to Plant's midsection and sides. These shots don't always draw loud reactions from the crowd, but they wear a fighter down in ways that show up in the later rounds. Plant was still moving, still trying to keep his jab in play, but it was clear that Resendiz was the one dictating the pace. Plant's usual rhythm and defensive slickness seemed to be fading. He was reacting more than he was initiating. By the end of the 10th, Resendiz looked more composed, more confident, almost as if he had already done the math in his head and liked where the fight was heading. His corner was energized, sensing that their fighter had the edge heading into the championship rounds. The 11th round turned brutal quickly. As the action continued, Resendiz landed a series of sharp punches that opened a cut above Plant's right eyebrow. Blood started trickling down the side of Plant's face, adding visual drama to what was already a gritty, close contest. Cuts like that are distracting, not just because of the pain, but because blood in the eye can ruin a fighter's vision. Still, Plant showed grit and kept pushing. Then, just when it seemed like Resendiz might completely take over, Plant reminded everyone that he wasn't going out without a fight. In the final seconds of the round, he landed a powerful right hand that caught Resendiz on the chin. It was a moment of resurgence, a flash of the Plant who had once been considered among the division's most technical and dangerous boxers. But even with that shot, the round as a whole belonged to Resendiz. When the 12th and final round began, both fighters knew the fight was still up for grabs. Resendiz, smelling victory, continued to push the pace, while Plant tried to find opportunities to land something meaningful and shift the judges' perception. They traded shots, but Resendiz looked slightly sharper, slightly fresher, and more confident in those final 3 minutes. When the final bell rang, both corners raised their hands, both fighters looked exhausted, and the crowd held its breath. It had been a close, competitive, and physical battle. But when the scores were announced, 116-112 for Resendiz, 115-113 for Plant, and another 116-112 for Resendiz, It was Resendiz who emerged with the win. The split decision reflected how tight some of the rounds were, but it also confirmed that Resendiz had done just a little more in the eyes of two judges to walk away victorious. For him, it was the biggest win of his career. For Plant, it was another tough night and a painful reminder that the super middleweight division waits for no one. After the decision was read, you could see a mix of emotions ripple through the arena. Resendiz's corner erupted with celebration, hugging him, congratulating him, and soaking in the victory. This was a career-defining moment, and he had earned it the hard way, through grit, pressure, and relentless forward motion. For a fighter like Resendiz, who doesn't always get the spotlight, this win meant more than just another number on his record. It was validation. Beating a name like Caleb Plant, someone who had shared the ring with Canelo Alvarez and held a world title, instantly changed how fans and promoters would see him. He had just beaten a respected, skilled technician and made it look like he belonged among the elite. Meanwhile, on the other side of the ring, Plant wore the expression of a man grappling with disappointment. He had fought with heart, no question. There were moments when his footwork, jab, and timing looked sharp, especially early on. But as the rounds wore on, the intensity and volume of Resendiz's attack started to overwhelm him. It wasn't a collapse. It was more like a slow unraveling. His strategy of controlling the distance and tying up when necessary showed his experience, but ultimately it wasn't enough to keep Resendiz off him. The loss didn't mean Plant was finished, but it did raise serious questions about what's next for him. At 32 years old, with a few high-profile defeats, the path back to the top suddenly looked a lot steeper. For fans who have followed Plant's journey, this fight felt like a pivotal chapter. He's known for his clean technique and smooth style, often blending finesse with toughness. That blend earned him the IBF title, and it made him a respected figure in the sport. But boxing isn't just about skills. It's about timing, adaptability, and sometimes surviving wars. Against Resendiz, Plant showed flashes of brilliance, but he struggled to consistently turn the tide in his favor. Whether it was the headbutts, the pressure, or the steady bodywork, something seemed to wear him down over time. This wasn't a one-sided beatdown, but it was a clear sign that Plant may need to adjust his game if he wants to stay in the title conversation. For Resendiz, this win could be the launching pad to even bigger opportunities. He's the kind of fighter who thrives on being underestimated, someone who doesn't come in with hype, but leaves with the respect of everyone watching. Saturday night, he fought like a man with nothing to lose, and he walked away with everything to gain. Now, his name is in the mix for future high-stakes bouts. Promoters and fans will be watching closely to see if he can build on this momentum. Can he keep climbing the ranks? Can he challenge for a full world title? Those are questions that will shape his next few fights, and if Saturday was any indication, Resendiz is ready for whatever comes next. In the end, this fight reminded fans of what makes boxing so compelling. Two men stepped into the ring with something to prove, and for 12 rounds they gave everything they had. There were swings in momentum, tactical adjustments, moments of drama, and flashes of brilliance from both sides. Whether you were rooting for the seasoned Plant or the rising Resendiz, you witnessed a real fight, a gritty, intense battle that didn't need trash talk or theatrics to be exciting. It was the kind of bout that sticks with you, not because of flashy knockouts or viral moments, but because of its raw honesty. In the unforgiving world of boxing, where one night can redefine a career, both men showed courage, but only one walked away with the win. And on this night in Las Vegas, that man was Jose "Toro" Resendiz.